Hey, it's Isaiah here from Let's Create a Game, and I'm going to talk about the technical design document. This is going to be an updated video about how to create your own technical design document. If you check out our other videos, we have kind of like a template of the TDD and a template of the game design document. Both are good in their sense, but the problem with those is they're blank. There is stuff that just gets added as you work on the project. And it's also stuff you can't really explain in 15 minutes. So in this video, I'm actually using our Arcane Knights TDD. The difference is some stuff in this is actually blanked out, and it's kind of an older version. Luckily, I am able to show you guys what I wrote back in the summer. And like I said, it's a little outdated. I did have to blank a lot of out, but it does really kind of help you guys understand what you might be wanting to write in yours. So let's go ahead and follow along, and hopefully this video is kind of short and just more of an update versus a whole tutorial. Alright, so if you look at the old file, you'll notice that you would have put your own title here, and it's called Technical Design Document. Here's version, so like I said, this is an old version. I think I got up to, I don't know, I think we're on 2 or something now. Created, I think the date's wrong there, here's the updated date. And table of contents, this hasn't really changed much from the video I made. There might be a little bit edits and move things around, because sometimes certain information is not very helpful in the wrong order. So you might have hardware and software down at number 5 that might not be useful to you guys. So just go ahead, and as you make yours, feel free to move these around based on what is functioning for you. Around where it says level layout, which is number 7 for me, I unfortunately had to blank out all the levels we have in the game. But basically, you would write 7.1. Let's say, actually, I can tell you this one. 7.1 is like the castle, and second one is the forest, and there's other levels, but I don't want to spoil it for you guys. And you do the same thing over here. So this would just list out the levels, and this one would give you all the assets there for that level. It's good for the modelers, the animators, whoever's working on it. They need to kind of look at the sheet and see what needs to be made. And you'll see farther down what I mean by this. And this is just kind of the outline. Executive summary. Part of this is on the website, so I don't really mind if you guys see this. But like I said, if you were to walk around and say, hey, I'm working on this project, this is kind of my paragraph. It's, like I said, not the best, and it's an older version of what I wrote before, what I wrote now currently. But it's like, hey, we're making this game. This is what it's about. Bam, really quickly, simple. Technical, if somebody really wants to get into what we're doing, and if there's profit involved or what engines we're using, software, then you give them the technical version of the same kind of speech, but the technical version of that. Software, you list out any software you're going to use, even if it's, like I said, not for production, because it's good to know what you have available. So if we did get funding and we had enough money to buy, ZBrush, then we would change this for production because we would own a copy. Maybe one artist owns a copy, but then the rest don't, or he's not under the company's name. Generally, unless the company owns the product, you have, legal issues dealing with, if this person you're hiring is a freelance artist, then they're responsible for the software. But if you hire them as, full-on worker, then they don't need to have any software, and then you're liable for what programs they use. And it gets complicated. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the depths of this information, but I like to keep it simple. Basically, what software we're using is free software: Blender, GIMP, MyPaint. Actually, we do own copies of Photoshop, or at least I own a copy of Photoshop. And you can get a student version of 3ds Max, but you just, like I said, can't use it for production. It's good to fiddle with it. And then sound. It really depends. This is kind of, like I said, not really important to me at the time, so I didn't put any sound software. I didn't put any programming software in there. You know, if you're using, I can't even think of a good software you'd be using, but anyways, office software, you have to make sure that, like I said, same idea. It's like you sometimes have to buy Word, and if you have to use Word, because you know, if you have a PowerPoint and you want people to look at PowerPoint, you're gonna have to have everybody use the same software. Luckily for us, once again, free Open Office opens all possible formats on the planet. Great to use. Firefox, Mozilla, file sharing we're using. Acrobat Reader, free because you're just reading PDF files. And it's good to have something like this because, like I said, you might be handing this document to somebody that's willing to fund you. First, they're going to look at the game design document and say, yeah, this is a great idea. I want to know more on the technical side. This is the technical document. That's why it says technical on it, because everything in it relates to, you know, cost reduction, what you need to get things going. Nothing about, hey, this is, you know, my idea. Here's some pretty pictures. You know, that's the other document. There's some pictures in here, but same idea. And moving on, you say what's the hardware. This is what hardware requirements, and this is what we're aiming for. And I just copied and pasted from the Unreal website. It says this is what minimum you need. As you develop it yourself, the farther you get into it, you may tweak it. You know, you might not be able to. The minimum specs might be too crummy looking for you, and you don't want people to even play it on that hardware. Then you bump up the minimum specs. You know, a lot of games you play can actually run on hardware less than what it says, but they don't recommend it. Usually it doesn't even perform very well or not even playable. So like I said, that's why you have to follow, you don't have to follow these, but you should write these out so people should follow them. Evaluation, more or less what you think of the engine, like is this going to be useful, this is what I want to use, and so on. And usually that's near the end. I usually don't like to write that even. That's why it's not available, because I still have not written it. Development plan. This is very, very important because this is basically signifies how people are going to meet. Is everybody in the same building? Is people online? Is people, you know, down the street? Are you going to meet at a coffee shop? It really depends on what you're going to write. A lot of, you know, businesses I work for normally, you know, at Monday at 2 p.m. everybody sits in the same room, you know, chats things out. If you don't have that ability, if you're not in the same room or you have too many people spread out, you know, you have to think of ways to make meetings. And, you know, look at this. I have mandatory meeting at the end of the month. Be able to do so, you know, grounds for removal from the project because, you know, you basically need to come. If you're working on a project, people need to know what your problems are, like what your difficulties are, and then people need to tell you what their difficulties are, and then you hash it out. But if you just keep making stuff that's like broken models that nobody can use, and you don't come to meetings, nobody can tell you that you're making models that nobody can use. I mean, of course, somebody's going to tell you, but this is how you do it, and it makes things so much smoother. How are you going to share the files? We're kind of still using Google Plus for file sharing. The chat system of Google Plus doesn't quite work very well. It's kind of broken. It's very useful. Really look into this, especially if you want a free thing, because they have a lot of other programs out there. You have to pay $30 a month or $50 a month or $10 a person. But this basically, whatever files you upload, you can type in people's email addresses, and they're able to see it and edit it in real time. So, you know, spreadsheets, Word documents, all that, they can, you know, add to it, edit it without having to cause much problems. They can even upload things to it if they really need to. We are using our own file server, so you don't have to deal with, you know, uploading. I wrote this out for you guys because this is my like super basic original timeline I wrote way before I even started the project. A little bit naive because I kind of wrote it not knowing what I was doing, you know. And, you know, I'll admit to it. When I started writing this, I really didn't know how long things are going to take. Because sometimes, you know, you have a great team and they're power through all the 2D work, and then the 3D team takes forever, or vice versa. So you can write these things out. I really do suggest you write this stuff out. But be prepared to edit this the fastest as you write it, because I wouldn't go past 2 months. Literally, I mean, I would say, oh yeah, you know, 5 months down the road, I'm going to think about making a beta version, but I wouldn't write too far out. And then project goals. I had to blank things out, sorry. Have a alpha build by blank time. The product goals, have a playable game. Server information, once again, blanked out. I'm not going to tell you our file server. File format, this is alright. Basically, you have to write out what file format you want people to use. Since we're using GIMP as our main file, XCF is the native format, which is, kind of like a lossless version of PSD. And so if you're making nice fine art and this is not your final version, it's your final version but you're not ready to produce it out, or you say like this, and then suddenly, when you're ready to export it out, you export it to JPEG, but we still have our, uncompressed versions hiding somewhere on this file server, so you never lose them. It's good practice always to have 2 copies of everything. File naming, this really depends on what you want to name things. Since we're working in Blender, a lot of times, since OBJ files are cross-platform, almost across everything, it's good to use that, because somebody's working in 3ds Max for a different project, like I said, not for us, but say somebody is working 3ds Max and they want to save it out. FBX files kind of have issues in Blender, but OJs don't. And then if you want it for UDK, you have to call it FBX, and you can attach your your normal maps to and all that. In this case, we're just attaching a file, and then the pictures come along in a different folder. The level name, when you have packages in UDK, you have to name the level, so nice level dash name that, version. Audio, nothing really there since it's not important. Level layout, unfortunately I had to blank that out for you guys, but basically you draw up what the level looks like. So when people are making levels, like say if you're trying to block out a level, you want to see what it kind of looks like before you actually start making it. And what happens if you make that initial block out and then you leave? You no longer work on the project, or you get reassigned to a different department. Somebody else looks at that and say, hey, you know what? I have a map now. I can make the level. And that's why you make that stuff. And then 2D art, I had to blank it all out, but basically you have the name of, we'll say tree, name tree-1, and file description, a tree. Actually, it says character, so, but same idea. And then you have a picture. So if you have a picture that goes along with the name, it helps people identify what they're looking at. Generally, people usually put the 3D model as finished over here, but I like to put the 2D art to match it. That's just my preference. 3D models, you basically do the same thing. This one is actually this one, but all you're doing is, changing the name of the file. So it might be, attack tree 1, and it says a tree that attacks, and then here to be attack tree 1, and it says 3D model of the tree attacking. And the file name is going to be FBX. At the end it has to be FBX. If you follow our, what we say, so final, it would be tree attacking _ final dot FBX. And that's what it would be called. I hope that makes sense to you. And then, like I said, each one of those is a different level. So this, the first one, we'll say common types, but level 1 is going to be, we'll say, castle or forest. How many characters are in the castle? NPC, item. And items could be a chair, it could be a table, it could be a curtain, it could be food. That's why there's items. Things that populate the level are items. Even if, you're not going to be making these first, you might make this the very last second. But having the 2D art of it allows people to know what they're going to model. And then it repeats the 3D model, a model name, description of what it is, which is kind of redundant because it's the same thing. And then if it's an item, then you show a picture of it. I left this in for you guys, but basically on the concept art, if you had all the levels as you draw the art, you put them in here. It could potentially get very, very large file. All you do is just put like a 400 by 500 pixel picture in here. It doesn't have to be high resolution because it literally just signifies what the area looks like. And I felt this is okay to leave it in just because it's already on our website. It's already on Facebook or whatever. So, and also this works by David Johnson. So I give him some, props right there for making this great concept art for us. And it'd be more. So this might be the outside of the building, and then inside it'd be a ton more listed below, and that would be kind of what you might want to base your level off of. And then, like I said, each area just says what the next level is and what's in the level, what some 3D models are in that level, and then, like I said, these are on the web too, so I felt like leaving them in is okay. Hey, this is the first level, and there's a forest or whatever, or this is part of the castle, castle, forest, entrance, or whatever you want to call it. I don't think these names are even right anymore. I think they changed so much that these names don't even mean anything. Once again, David Johnson made this work. Like I said, it doesn't have to be the fanciest work. You just have to kind of let you know what you're looking at. Are you looking at, a path through the woods? Is it really dense woods? Is it nice and open? And that's kind of what concept art is, Are you going to have an NPC character that hangs out in this house? Well, actually, in fact, we do, but it's the same idea as like having this work helps people understand what they're doing. Like I said, and that's really all I have. So thanks for watching, and I hope you check back for more videos.